So I want to give you guys a little background story about why I stopped dating in my 20s and what I realized. So in 8th grade, I started dating this girl that was a year older than me. She was in 9th grade, and our school is broke up into middle school is 6th through 8th grade, and then high school is 9th grade through 12th grade, and they're two separate schools. And she was actually one of my friend's sisters at the time, but that's a whole nother story, and maybe I'll make a separate video if you want to know. But she was fine, dime piece. So anyways, I loved this girl. First girl I did everything with, and I really thought she was the one. And we dated all the way into my junior year and her senior year. And this is when I realized love was a complete joke, because she broke up with me for the old I want to be single in college and experience college. Now, I'm not saying love isn't real, but I think it's rare. And maybe you can relate, like you loved this girl and she switched up and you became heartbroken and depressed after. And at the time, you don't really realize everything happens for a reason. And I know that's cliche, but it's true. Looking back on it, you see it's all good now. Or maybe if you just got broken up with, you don't see that and you're kind of annoyed just hearing that. But you end up learning so much, not only about relationships, but about yourself. Because for me, I sat with myself for like 4 months, sat in my room, wasn't eating, and was just depressed. But then eventually I hit a switch, and like I decided I'm not going to let life stop now. And I think everybody should have that mentality to sit with yourself a bit, be sad, but then use that depression, sadness, anger, and tell yourself, like, fuck it. Let me prove to her what she missed out on. And most people will disagree with that, but I completely changed my life after. Started setting goals, whatever it was, like getting in the gym, reading, focusing on myself. And that summer I got pretty jacked, and for the first time in my life I had a six-pack. And I was working towards getting a basketball scholarship. And so I used that emotional state I was in to push myself every day to reach goals I never thought I could. And so fast forward, by the age of 18, I'm in college. First year went great. I was super focused on my grind on the court and off the court. Ended up making the dean's list. And then the summer, going into my sophomore year, I ended up meeting another girl. And this time I was hesitant, right? Like I was like, I don't want to get hurt again. I'm happy with myself where I'm at, the things I'm doing, and I don't really want to change anything. But I never forget what she told me. She was like, why does anything have to change? We were talking for like 2 months at this point, and things were going great, like nothing bad. We hung out when we could. We were both busy, but we made it work, and I enjoyed her presence. She enjoyed mine. And I realized, like she's right, like why not just try it? And I fell into it again. Fast forward after that, we dated for 2 years, and she ended up breaking up with me. But I realized like a lot of that was my fault. Like I was very insecure at the time, just from my previous relationship, and that's a whole nother story I don't want to get into, but maybe another time. And so again, like I was sad, learned a lot about myself, and that's when I really sat down with myself and realized why I don't want to be in a relationship. Because then I started to realize I didn't even really know who I was or what I wanted to become. Like I had goals, but I didn't know who I was yet. And I was codependent. I mean, I've always had a girl in my life since like 8th grade, and those are prime transforming years. And 2, I wasted so much time and money on these girls, and especially at that age, 18 to 22 is like prime time to be using that money to invest in or just learn different skills. And so that set me back a whole lot of time. And not to mention the time I spent with these girls or overthinking. That's time I could have been using to build something or become the man I wanted to be, or just even learn about myself. From 18 to 22, there's so much going on in your life. So many things are changing. Goals that you have set that ended up not working out. So you have to adjust, and trying to do that while balancing a healthy relationship is just stressful, and it's hard to do, especially when you're trying to become a man that you respect yourself. But I feel like when you have a girlfriend, your identity kind of changes, especially if you don't know who you are yet, and your goals really aren't your goals because you have to keep them in mind too. And so it messes with a man's identity and their goals and who they are. So once I realized that, I completely stopped dating. I was like, I just want to focus on myself, focus on the goals I want to achieve, the man I want to become and respect. And having a girlfriend while doing that is just too much and too hard to balance. But I just think it's super important for anybody that's 18, 22, in that age range to just understand that. And maybe for you've already had time to realize who you are and who you want to become, but you got to understand too that those years are prime for understanding who you actually are. You might think you know who you are and what you want to do, but life changes so fast, especially in those years, that sometimes you'll have to read and react and adjust, and life completely changes. Like, I think every year from 18 to 22, I had an idea of where I would be, but it completely changed because of one thing, or something failed and I had to readjust. And then you have the age-old thing of being the age of 25 being when your prefrontal cortex fully develops, and that part of the brain is responsible for long-term planning, emotional regulation, and risk assessment. And that doesn't finish developing until around age 25, and this can impact a lot of communication, conflict resolution, and relationship longevity. Like, for my relationships, I feel like I wasn't fully mature to be in those types of relationships. I feel like now, the next time I do go into a relationship, it'll be for the right reasons and be for things that I truly want. And I think that's important when you're choosing who to be with. Don't just be with somebody because they like you and you like them back and they're kind of pretty. I think it's more important to understand their core values and if it aligns with your core values, and if you guys have similar goals in the long run that you guys both want to achieve. And I feel like a big part of that is understanding their habits. If you can understand their habits, like if spending habits, eating habits, whatever it is, and if you're okay with those types of habits and who they are, then by all means go for it. But understand it's not easy. Like, relationships are not easy, especially if you don't know who you are yet. And if you have goals that you want to achieve, make sure that they don't get in the way of those goals that you want to achieve. And for me, like, that's a big reason why I stopped dating, was because I finally realized who I was and the goals that I wanted to achieve. Just a girl wasn't in the picture for that at the moment, and that's right now. So that's what I'm focused on, because I feel like that age of my life I kind of lost, where I wasn't prioritizing myself. It was always prioritizing myself and my girlfriend at the time. Like, I always thought about the both of us. And I feel like that time in your life is a critical time for independent growth. Like, pouring immense time into energy into a romantic relationship can just distract young people, or that age range, from focusing on their own education, career building, and personal goals. Because, you get in one argument and your whole day's fried, your whole day's cooked. You're thinking about it, you're upset, you don't know if you're going to break up or what's going on, and you don't know how to act. And yeah, that's just how I feel about it. But tell me something about your love life. If that's something you agree with or disagree with, I want to know why. Leave that in the comment below. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.